Stuart, Kent, welcome from Lifelong Wealth. Good to see you here. Why do people need financial advice? And I guess particularly bearing in mind cost of living pressures right now are extreme.
Yeah, I think it comes down to what they're trying to achieve. So a lot of people don't know what they don't know. A lot of people think financial planning is all about choosing the best stocks and what's going to be the next boom area. But it more comes down to finding out what's important to the clients, their goals, what they're hoping to achieve. And a lot of it is peace of mind, of giving them the peace of mind that they can afford a house, they can afford to retire. And if they can't achieve those goals, we can put some strategies in place to help them get there.
What people are you finding are in most need of financial advice at the moment? Is there a particular demographic, those that are perhaps struggling most at the moment?
Yes, people that are struggling definitely need financial advice. Without getting too political, the problem is most people at the moment struggle to afford financial advice. So the people that need it the most do find it hard to pay for the compliance and all the research behind the scenes. So there are some fixes coming down the pipeline, but that hopefully, because everyone really should have access to some sort of financial advice to suit their particular need, and a lot of it is actually just financial education.
So how do you alleviate that issue then, given, as you say, that can be a stumbling block? Perhaps many people who need financial advice balk at it because of those costs.
Yep. So what we do is our first meeting. We generally do at no cost, so that even if someone doesn't want to go to the next stage and get a 100-page plan that sort of scopes out a big solution to all their problems, we can give them some good advice. We could potentially put them in the right direction, someone to speak to that can help them with their particular need, and there'll be no cost for that. So we've always done it that way. Financial advice at the moment is quite expensive, so it's not for everyone, but you can always point someone in the right direction.
Let's go back to the beginning then for you guys, of the genesis of Lifelong Wealth. Why did you see the need there to set it up?
Yeah, we were both from large financial institutions, and we were limited as to what we could do within those organisations. And we always said that if we were ever to leave, we wanted to do it our way. And our way was all about educating the clients and showing them what they could afford and what they couldn't, and just helping them achieve their goals rather than it being all about a product, which in the large financial institutions, they made money from us recommending a particular product. And we wanted to go as far away from that as possible and be more focused on their goals and what the client wanted to achieve. And we were there to try and help them get there.
Yeah, because of course we've seen the advice industry hollowed out in recent years. But are you saying perhaps then that Australians are missing out because those large financial institutions are either withdrawn that service or simply don't get it? They're not actually offering the service that's required.
Yeah, probably in twofold. The large financial institutions were a great place for financial planners to cut their teeth and learn the industry. So we've got a big financial planner shortage at the moment. So, and a lot of there's nowhere for them to learn. And then secondly, people would debate as to whether the advice they got at the large financial institutions was the best they could have, but it was a low cost alternative and at least they got some advice.
What does your typical client look like?
We're North Brisbane, right in the middle, out in the burbs. So our normal client is someone who, does the normal things. They raise the kids, they have a mortgage, they struggle to pay it off, they struggle to pay the kids' education. They need to make sure initially they've got some strategy around their super. They need some insurances to make sure that if they've got a plan B if it all goes wrong. And then at some point they'll pay the mortgage off, they'll put their head up and say, I'd really love to retire one day, and that's generally, we catch them somewhere along that journey of life, and we help them through any of those particular problems. Because as Stuart alluded to earlier, really we look for helping clients with goals, specific strategies that we can do. If someone's really rich and they're happy being really rich, it's probably not us. There's advisors that just make you more money and get in there and they know whereas we're trying to help people solve their problem. You know, I want to retire, can I afford to? Let's do the sums, let's look at all the Centrelink, let's see how long you're going to live and whether it all balances or whether you can put some strategies in place to get you there.
So, because I mean, so many people at the moment simply struggling to make ends meet,
Yeah.
let alone trying to put aside money as an investment. So how do you guide people through that process? I guess it sort of depends on where in life they're at, but particularly those who are just starting out, those who have just got a job, want to buy a house, perhaps thinking about a family. How do you guide them through that process?
Yeah, a bit of it's a bit of financial education again. So going through schools, we learn lots of different things, but the one thing we don't learn in schools is about finance, about budgeting or anything like that. So a lot of it's setting up a budget for client and working out where they're spending, where they can save money. And then once again, looking at their goals. And the government has introduced a few really good incentives to help people get into or the first homeowners to get into their first home. And so it's just educating them on things they can do to help them achieve getting into a home, but also then protecting against that plan B of making sure they've got enough income protection so that if anything goes wrong, they can continue to pay the bills on a day-to-day basis. But it does come back to that financial education of just trying to teach them how money works, what they've got coming in versus what they've got going out, and then just show them that you actually physically can't spend more than you've got coming in, and then just cutting down on the expenses, which for the younger generation is quite hard of cutting back.
And perhaps at the other end of life there, where you're contemplating retirement, at least you're at that age, do you come across clients, people in need of that help, that perhaps maybe even single women who've found that they're divorced, they may be single mothers that are struggling to, because for instance, they may not have super or enough super at least to get them by. How do you guide them through that process?
Absolutely. Well, it comes back to, so when you're preparing to retire, the hardest question we ask is how much do you spend? And we work back from that, because when you go to retirement, it really comes down to how much assets you got, whether you're able to access some age pension, and then working out how much more savings you need to get you through to your life expectancy or a bit longer, hopefully. So it's funny, you do meet some people. People always think it's the poor people that might struggle to retire. And certainly if their health's gone and they don't get to age pension age, that's a big problem. But I've met a lot of people that actually live on less than the age pension. So when you tell them that not only will they get to age pension age, but because they've been paying off a mortgage and doing it really tough, they've got that mortgage done, they're actually going to have a good retirement. So it really doesn't matter how much you've got, it's how much you've got compared to how much you want to spend. It's not that different however old you are. If you can stay slightly below what you've got coming in, you'll be right.
And aside from those people that are looking to create a nest egg for themselves, particularly later in life, what about those people that maybe want to start their own business, a small enterprise? What sort of what advice can you sort of give them?
Yeah, it's probably not an area that we specialise in. A lot of those need more the specific accounting advice, but the one avenue we've got through that first appointment being complimentary is we can answer some of their basic questions and then steer them in the right direction of an accountant that might be able to help them, or sending them to a solicitor who might be able to structure their business properly.
And overall, how are you going with the profile for your business, just in terms of marketing? You managing to get your name out there?
Yeah, it's been the fun part of starting our own business, because in the large financial institution, everything gets done for you. Whereas now that we're on our own and we make our own decisions, both Kent and I like giving things a go, and if they fail, we fail quick. But it's been great. It's been great learning about how Google works and search engines and all of those different avenues you can do to get your brand and name out there. It is something that I thoroughly enjoy doing, as well as the financial planning side of it.
Stuart and Kent, thanks for joining us from Lifelong Wealth.
No problem at all.